Well, I've frequently spoken about the Great Reset. This is the plan by the World Economic Forum to encourage governments to use all the levers they used during lockdown, enforced business closures, 23-hour lockdowns, restricting how far you can go from your home, and ridiculously aggressive policing tactics in order to tackle climate change. The Guardian last week ran a lengthy and, to be frank, fairly tedious article by someone I'd never heard of called Anne Davies attacking me, it seems to be my week, for spreading conspiracy theories about the Great Reset, accompanied by a photo of myself looking suitably deranged and unhinged. Sometimes it's just out-and-out conspiracy material drawn from the QAnon playbook, like Rowan Dean's multiple reports on the supposed secret agenda of the World Economic Forum's Great Reset, Ms. Davies wrote in her piece. Well, first of all, I have no idea what the QAnon playbook is, other than that apparently you have to dress up like Chewbacca in buffalo horns and paint your face. But that's beside the point, not my cup of tea. Ms. Davies clearly doesn't understand what a conspiracy theory is. There is no secret agenda about the Great Reset. They're shouting it from the rafters. It's not me saying they want you to own nothing and be happy about it. It's them. Global carbon prices, only eat meat as a treat, billions of refugees from climate change. I have only ever repeated the words of Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum, the words of Prince Charles, who said use all the levers, the words of the head of the United Nations, Guterres, who says we must use COVID to counter climate change, and many other very powerful and influential individuals who insist we must go straight from COVID lockdowns to climate lockdowns. So the timing of Ms. Davies' piece smearing me for trying to suggest that there was some kind of conspiracy linking COVID to climate change could not actually have been worse. At the same time she was penning her conspiracy theory article, the World Economic Forum were putting the finishing touches to their latest ad, telling us what plans they have. Wait for it. They think that lockdowns are necessary for tackling climate change. Lockdowns are good. Don't believe me? Well, have a listen to this and I'll read out the subtitles just to underline them of their latest ad. Earth's seismic noise has been the lowest in decades due to lockdowns. Scientists saw a wave of quiet around the world in 2020. Ambient noise in some cities fell 50% as fewer people used transport and factories closed. There were also record falls in air pollution, clearing city skies from Asia to America. But by late 2020, it had returned to pre-pandemic levels. Carbon emissions were also down 7% last year, but the drop won't slow climate change unless we lock in emissions cuts. How quiet was your local area? The World Economic Forum asked. Well, so there you have it. We'll go from lockdowns to lock-ins. Shut down your factories, that's good. Stop people using transport, that's good. Empty the streets, and hey presto, climate change is solved. But before the Guardian go rushing off screaming conspiracy theory, yes, it's a conspiracy, but it's not my conspiracy, it's theirs. And while the lovies are all in a tiz, maybe the Guardian might like to look into this conspiracy theory. And I quote, "What is the truth about COVID-19 deaths? Grieving relatives in the UK, along with MPs and top medics, demand an inquiry as families reveal their loved ones have been wrongly certified as coronavirus victims." One UK funeral director said it was a national scandal. Dozens expressed similar frustrations that the causes of death of some elderly and already unwell relatives had been wrongly attributed. 8 of the families who wrote to the Daily Mail have successfully urged their doctors to change the causes of death previously recorded as COVID-19. The claims are part of an investigation that raises serious questions over the UK's spiralling death toll. And no, Ms Davies, that's not Quanon or Chewbacca or anyone else. That's the Daily Mail in the UK. And finally, this weekend, if you haven't already read it, there is a superb article in the Weekend Australian by Steve Waterson, who savages the West's and our insane response to the coronavirus and who is scathing about the policy of lockdowns. Waterson writes, "Instead of dancing in the streets at our narrow escape, we continue the brutal, self-destructive madness of lockdown, following the example of communist China, one of the last truly totalitarian states on Earth." Waterson says, "Who saw the Chinese welders sealing citizens into their Wuhan apartments and thought, whoa, what a terrific idea that is? Our state leaders did, clearly, and their moronic counterparts around the world." Why moronic? Well, and I urge you to read Steve's piece. Waterson goes through many of the statistics to do with supposed COVID deaths here in Britain and elsewhere, saying, for example, of Australia's death toll. Interestingly, influenza and pneumonia deaths in 2020 numbered just under 2,000, against the average, 5-year average, of just over 3,000. Waterson asks a very significant question, namely, is it faintly possible the missing 1,000 people who would normally have died of flu and pneumonia are the ones who succumbed to COVID when it first arrived? Did the virus simply tip those teetering on the verge of death into an earlier quarter? Of Britain, where the fear that the National Health Service will be overwhelmed, which is the ongoing justification for the depravity of the UK lockdowns. Steve Waterson notes pithily, "Might the fact that in the past 30 years Britain has reduced the number of hospital beds from 300,000 to 140,000, i.e. less than half, while adding 10 million people to its population, shed some light on this situation?" And then of Sweden, which we are repeatedly told has been a disaster, Steve Waterson reveals, Sweden, poster nation for personal freedom during the pandemic and whipping boy for the lockdown enthusiasts, has recorded a 2020 death rate that has not been matched in its history since, drumroll please, 2015. Steve goes on, "There are many vile diseases out there that can kill you. And the price we have exacted from the healthy to protect the sick, uniquely from this ailment, is out of all proportion, and it need not have been so." He then adds, "So, no self-congratulating leaders, you have not kept us safe. You have destroyed thousands of businesses, families, lives and futures. You have cheated people of the highlights of human existence, the moments of shared joy and sorrow, the weddings, the births, the anniversaries, the farewells and funerals that mark our journey through life. You have placed unimaginable burdens of debt and despair on future generations and crafted a dangerous template for all the idiots who will surely follow you. And to use your own arrogant formulation, I make no apology for saying that." Steve Waterson, great writing, great words, couldn't have put it better myself. But don't tell The Guardian, Steve, or Anne Davies will accuse you of spreading conspiracy theories.